Hi everybody, welcome to the first episode of our Small Talk by Being a Guest. My name is Stefano. I'm very honored to have with me three guests. They are Keybros, young YouTuber.
Hey guys, Keybros.
大家好，我哋係鎖匙兄弟。
And also we have Mr. Geoffrey Handley. Okay, let me start first with the Keybros. You are currently studying law overseas and you recently opened your YouTube channel. So why did you decide to open your YouTube channel and talk about the Hong Kong situation?
At first we were quite afraid to speak out, but then we started to realize that if we did not speak out, we would actually be complicit in allowing this dictatorship to grow. And in fact, this dictatorship isn't the communist government, nor is it the Hong Kong government. And in fact, is these radicals who resort to violence and domestic terrorism to silence those who disagree with them. So that is why we have started this channel, because we wanted to provide a platform to those who share similar opinions to us to express themselves.
Exactly, so we do not actually confine ourselves in like pro-government, anti-government camps. We're at rather centres actually, and we want to bridge the gap between both sides. We do actually agree with some points on one and some points of the other. So I would say that although we're trying to give an alternative perspective to the mainstream media, that's what we want to do, we will try to incorporate different perspectives and voices onto our show. For example, the new program called Soft Talk, in contrast to BBC's Hard Talk that we have. We'll invite guests of different backgrounds and of different opinions, and we'll also give credit towards the other side, so-called the other side, if credit is deserved and is due.
So you don't define yourself as yellow or blue, right?
No, we don't.
Okay, but seems you have a completely different opinion compared to other or the majority of the Hong Kong students. You are not afraid to speak out?
Good question. Like at first I was a bit afraid that of our personal safety, obviously, that we might be doxxed. That's what happened to some people.
Yeah.
But at the end, as my friend has said, like, we want to contribute towards civil discourse and rationality in our society, which is pretty much lacking at the moment. And I think providing an alternative perspective can allow this civil discourse to grow, because we can't allow only just one voice to be heard to the world. There's actually a coin and there's two sides to it. It's not only just one.
I'd say that we've had enough, basically, of being silenced. And also, we think that in a democratic society, there shouldn't be an echo chamber. Everybody should express their views. And not only that, it's also very important to have a plurality of different opinions. Because if in society we only listen to the mainstream, then the minority or those who hold minority opinions would easily be oppressed in silence.
And also we actually want to build like a community of international minded people in Hong Kong. We've actually got many different opinions from different people. We're quite happy that so far we've reached quite a global audience on Facebook, Twitter, even Reddit.
And also I think it's quite important that we're using English as a medium. Because we have quite a westernized background, and of course, to balance that, we are very proud of being Chinese.
Yeah.
I think that the English-based media in Hong Kong, for example, RTHK and Hong Kong Free Press, are so dominated by the mainstream opinion, and I think there is no other English news outlet which provides a different perspective. So I think it's very important for the rest of the world to be able to access both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
That's right. And we also want to offset the sort of negativity and the mainstream bias that the world have towards the situation in Hong Kong. Always think that, oh, Hong Kong is only full of freedom fighters, only full of people who go in the streets and protest or riot every day. But it's not like that. There's actually normal people here who are rational and want to just get their voices heard, I'd say.
This is, let's say, ruining the image of Hong Kong, because maybe a lot of people can associate Hong Kong as protest, right?
Right.
Yes, exactly.
We don't want the rest of the world to think that Hong Kong students are all like Josh and Wang.
Right.
We want to build a more positive image, more vibrant image of Hong Kong to be the best of both worlds and also Asia's world city. We have to take back control of that title.
And I heard that you have been looking for another, let's say, voice, completely different from the yellow medias. And I wonder why you are doing this.
For similar reasons, but mine goes back a step further. I first moved up to Shanghai in 2006. So I've spent nearly 15 years in China. Obviously, 我係香港人, right? 第五代喺香港出世. So my family's been here a long time. But I find that not very many people in Hong Kong have even gone into China to actually spend some time there to see what's there.
Right.
Being in the tech world as well, I realized that most of the commentary globally was really around American companies. Very, very Western, the view of what's great technology and what's amazing and what's innovation. And in the second breath, it would always just be anything to do with China would be copycat, stolen IP, or just it's crap because it will break because it's cheap. This real old-fashioned view. So it really sparked a fuse in me. I spent a few years in the States, living in New York, 2010 to 14, in the tech world, and then came back to Shanghai, and I realized that there really was no voice or nowhere to go to get information about, in English language, as you said, about what's going on, specifically in my world, in the tech space. Fast forward a few years to kind of now, same thing. Everything that's written about what's been happening in Hong Kong has been this real neo-colonial, American-funded, Western, just propaganda view, right? It's this Western world order kind of view that doesn't appreciate, understand how we live, what we're going through, what we're doing here, and what we actually want as people, as Hong Kong people, and as Chinese people, right? And so I thought it was really important. So I spent a lot of time not only writing myself under the hashtag China Matters, but also looking for other sources. And so obviously I've come across your guys' work, great videos and stuff, and good interviews, by the way. And obviously this channel here with where we are now. And I think it's really important for us to continue to investigate, look, and also share, right? I mean, that's the most important thing, is for us to share our views, our stories, our opinions, because they're just as valid as anyone else's.
Right.
And to make sure that the two things happen. Make sure that the Western view isn't the only view, because the West is not the best, right? And also to make sure that people understand that there are other views here as well.
So have you been to mainland China recently? How do you see the current Hong Kong?
We've actually been to China like 1 or 2 years ago when there's no pandemic. And so we've traveled to different parts of China, like the more developed parts like Shanghai, Beijing, also like some rather rural parts in, like, for example, Shanxi, Henan, or maybe like Guangxi. So it's quite a diverse place. And personally, I've also traveled to some other parts of the world as well, like Central Asia, Eastern Europe, also Western Europe as well. So I can see from my travels that there are actually positives and negatives in both of these places. It's not like only the West is perfect. It's not like everything the West is, what the freedom fighters so-called worship to be the god, and whereas China's all evil. This narrative isn't true. Like from my travels, we should be fair. The West has negatives, China has positives and also negatives, and we should recognize both to kind of create, to understand both cultures better.
Right. For example, in London, you cannot walk down the street at night and feel safe. That is just not a freedom that you can enjoy. But in Hong Kong, you can do that anywhere.
But when we were like small, I could walk like 3 a.m. at night. That's fine. Whereas when I walk Oxford Street at 3 a.m. at night, I have to be very careful of being pickpocketed, if there's anyone trying to harass me. So that's the freedom that the West doesn't give me, but does give me in Asia.
Yeah, and you also guys can speak some Mandarin?
对，可以啊，没问题。
Okay.
我们也可以说普通话，或者国语，对不对？
Yeah, we definitely feel like being born and raised in Hong Kong gives us a very unique advantage. And I think that as Hong Kongers, we have to take advantage of that and be the best of both worlds. We feel like currently Hong Kong youngsters, not only do they take the worst parts of Eastern culture, namely the uniformity, not trying to have that independent critical thinking, but also they take the worst parts of Western culture, which is that they're so individualistic and they simply are so selfish. They don't care about the opinions of others.
It's a really good point. I think it's a fundamental difference that the Western world's view is all about me, my, I, right? It's all about my rights.
And if someone disagrees with them, they will simply call them names, label them useless, label them dumb, label them dumb blue people, right?
Whereas our view, which I think is a real positive, it's about we, us, society, and not my rights, but my responsibilities, right? My responsibilities are always before my rights. So if I've served my responsibilities, met up to my responsibilities, lived up to my responsibilities, then I have my rights, right? And that's what creates harmony. Whereas this Western view of rights without responsibilities is insanity. And that's what we end up with, a selfish, self-centered, self-serving society. And And that's just in the difference when you see, but just looking through any lens, when you look at the world today, and you look at different societies and you see how they function, that's why I think this crux of this me versus we really comes out to bear, whether it's looking at from an economy, social, or even from a familial concept, in terms of in your own home.